A tree next to a pool, no bueno. Don't buy a house with a giant oak tree next to the pool, okay? It's either gonna sink or crack. So you've decided you wanna buy a house. I'm gonna talk about the things that are gonna cost you the most money if you do not understand when buying a house. I decided that you need to know this, and I hear these questions all the time, and I'm just gonna run them off. I don't know how long this will take me, but I'm gonna run them off so you know by the end of this video what can cost you tens of thousands of dollars in buying a house and you don't fall for it. Let's get to it. Number one is going to be your real estate agent. I happen to be a real estate agent, and I'm going to tell you, there are bad real estate agents out there. When you sign a contract, your offer and acceptance, everything to do with your contract, the negotiation, them speaking for you, and them telling you their opinions as a professional. Look, some of them aren't professionals. Some do one deal a year. Some have done 5 in 50 years. And some of them do 100 in a year. Some of them are worth every penny, and you want the best one to negotiate your deal for you. Research them. Because let's say you have a $200,000 ask on a house, and your agent goofs up the offer, goofs up writing the contract, goofs up a contingency, goofs something up in there to where you lose your earnest money, or you lose the money for your inspections and you have to bounce out of a contract, or maybe they cannot put forth the offer in a credible way. Maybe they have a lot of grammatical problems. They don't know how to talk to the other agent. They don't know any of the process. That can cost you $5, $10, $15, $20,000, and if it's $1 million property, it can cost you $20, $30, $40,000. But I mean, the difference between $1 million and $950,000 ask and acceptance is 50 grand. Let's say it's a cash deal and you miss a timeline, let's say for inspection or right to cancel, and that $50,000 or whatever you put down for earnest money is now forfeit because your real estate agent wasn't paying attention. It can cost you a lot of money. Let's get to the next. Okay, don't do a deal by yourself. If you are going to do an over-the-counter deal for a quitclaim deed or title or anything like that, and you are going to wire money without a title company, you are automatically doing something wrong. Understand what title companies are. They are there to hold your money in escrow and make sure that the title is clear from any defects, gambling, debts, tax liens, IRS liens, any of those things. Make sure you know that before you sign and transfer a property for money. There are horror stories out there of people inheriting IRS liens, tax liens, encumbrances, any type of properties that are non-buildable. I saw a deal a couple years ago that it was 10 acres and you could not build a house on it because the county said so. And it was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. But they had some weird rule that would not let you build on it. And they had paid $300,000 for this piece of property, and they didn't go through the proper title search and going down to the property appraiser and zoning, planning and zoning, and making sure that they could build on it. And it almost cost them $300,000. They bought a hunk of sand that wasn't worth anything. So make sure you understand that. Let's go to the next. Okay. Kitchens and bathrooms are some of the most important things in a house, right? They're going to cost you the most. Having a renovated kitchen and bathroom is most of the property. Make sure that if you are buying a house that, and this is going to go into my next one, if you're buying a house that is not renovated and the kitchens and bathrooms are in a terrible shape, that is going to affect the value of the house. Now, if you can renovate in the kitchen and bathroom, especially in an old house, now you're cooking with peanut oil. You're getting to where you're building in equity. This is not going to be a one-for-one exchange in a kitchen and bathroom. This is going to build you some equity. This is going to increase the sellability of a house. People walk in, kitchens and bathrooms are everything. If you are going to flip a house, make the kitchen and bathroom, just make it good, clean, mechanically sound, and quite modern. Don't go over the top with it. Don't go over the top. Don't be HGTV. You're going to eat up all your profit. Don't get caught with your hand in that cookie jar. If you're going to move into a house, remember that from the kitchens and bathrooms, you got to make sure the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC, and the roof are in good shape. Okay? And if they're not, don't overpay for the house. You got to factor the renovation for that into your price point. Your after repair value and then what you're offering for the house, you've got to understand the numbers there. So go to Home Depot, call contractors, and understand the cost for all of that before you start the real estate transaction. Or you're going to be out tens of thousands of dollars, and you're going to have contractors knocking holes in everything. It's going to take 6 months to a year to do. Unless you can do it yourself and you're a pro and you know what you're doing, that is dangerous. So don't go into a deal with those problems if you don't know how to navigate it. It can be very scary. I've done it quite a bit, and I'm kind of a professional, and it's still scary and problematic, especially if you have a slab and you can't slide underneath the house and just cut the pipes out, and you'll have to wind up chiseling the slab up to get to the pipes. Especially if there's old iron in the slab, or there's galvanized plumbing in the slab, or any of that. You got to understand it. Watch my video I just put out on Never Buy These Houses, because this is really important. And I happen to be a real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast, in Florida and in Alabama, Pensacola, Destin, Orange Beach. Email is down below if you need help on this, and I'll help you the best I can. Find you a great place or sell that great place. Email down below. Okay, upgrades and modernizations. There's going to be a few upgrades that you're going to have to do to a house, okay? If you have a 60 amp service on electrical unit, we're talking about electrical here, you're going to need at least 100 amps or 200 amps on a house, bar none, period. Most things now, you got to have power. You got to have 30 amps for a stove or 50 amps for a stove, depending on what you put in. You got to have electric hot water heater. You got to have electric dryer. You got to have all these things that take lots of power. If you're going to run a shed, hot tub, things like that, you're going to have to upgrade your electric. If you've got to want a Tesla plug or an electrical car, that's 30 to 70 amps, depending on what you're doing. So you're going to have a lot of power. So make sure if there's not an upgraded electrical unit, when we need circuit breakers, we don't need those old fuse tubes, okay? You need arc fault breakers or something modern, okay? Whatever the insurance company is allowing you to have modern, you need to make sure you plan for that, because that has got to be strong on our house, and it helps the resale of the property so much more when your electrical system is done, especially with modern wiring. You need modern wiring. You don't need that old paper, asbestos, cannon fuse looking wiring. Check out my video on that on the Never Buy Houses. I went into depth on that. Just make sure all that is good to go and your house is upgraded, right? It has good appliances. It has electrical that is good, a good HVAC system. I mean, now they're making you have 16 SEER and above. Like, make sure you have a good electrical system or HVAC system, HVAC ducting. Make sure that's good shape. It's really expensive to replace the ducting in your attic, especially during the summer because it's really hot. Okay, the next one, pools. Okay, pools. Here's the thing you're gonna run with pools, okay? Sometimes you get a great house, terrible pool. Sometimes you get great pool, terrible house. It seems the way it always plans out. Pools can cost you a lot of money. It's usually a separate inspection. Home inspector is usually not going to touch a pool. You got to make sure the plumbing's good, make sure the electrical's good, you got to make sure the pump's good. Pumps are expensive. And sometimes pools leak and they can have a deficit underneath, a big void underneath, and the water goes out into the ground, floods your neighbor's yard. Saw one the other day that did that. They can crack. A tree next to a pool, no bueno. Don't buy a house with a giant oak tree next to the pool, okay? It's either going to sink or crack, okay? Disclaimer on that, don't sue me. I'm just giving my opinion. Same thing. Don't buy a house with a giant oak tree within 6 inches of the house either. The house will eventually sink when that doggone oak tree dies and starts to disintegrate. All right, rant over. Just be careful with pools and getting it inspected. That's what I'm trying to say here. Cost you thousands. Okay, narrowing it down here, let's talk about property lines. I think I did an entire 2 videos on property lines. Go watch those videos. Vacant land and how to find your property line. If you have any encroachments, that's something that's really close to the property line or over it, be careful of it. Especially if it's a giant building. Sometimes they'll make you cut that bad boy in half. I did a video on that too. Make sure that the municipality is happy with any encroachments on your property and your property line and what you're planning to do. You can on the property line, especially with fences. Make sure please go and read the rule in your municipality for fences. Like in Pensacola, people thought you couldn't have an 8-foot fence in the county, and I got me an 8-foot fence, okay? Everybody thought it was 6 and nobody went and looked it up. Go look up the rules. A lot of times your neighbor is wrong. A lot of times code enforcement has never actually looked it up either, and they just did it off hearsay. So make sure you know the rules, what you're going to build, and your property line. This is super important because sometimes property lines can be wrong. And you don't own what you think you own, or you own more than you think you do. Make sure you get a survey. Make sure you get a survey. Check out that video. And that has to do the same thing with non-permitted buildings. Make sure if it needs to be permitted, have it permitted, or if it's grandfathered in, make sure it's grandfathered in, and make sure the bank likes it for the future, and make sure you can get title insurance on it and it doesn't hurt your title insurance policy. That's a whole nother road to go down. You need to talk to a lawyer on that one. Last but not least, septic tanks and sewer. Make sure that you check those out good. Make sure you get a septic inspection if you are doing that. And if they are fixing to come in sewer in your municipality or in your little area, make sure that they don't make you convert in the future when you got to work on the septic tank. So don't go spend $15,000, $20,000 on a septic tank when you know in 6 months they're going to come in with sewer. Because if you ever have to fix those lines, in many places, they will not give you a permit. They'll make you switch over to the sewer and run your line, and there's another $10,000 or $15,000. And if there's concrete around or oak trees, and all, it gets more expensive. So make sure you understand what the county's going to make you do or the city's going to make you do. Because, yeah, and if there's giant oak trees around that septic tank, go on and write it off. You're gonna be cleaning that bad boy out, or make sure you maintain it. I have seen oak trees grow roots all the way through the septic tank, through the line, up into the house, into the toilet, and the bathroom. Okay, I've seen oak trees drink an entire septic tank dry at the same time too. So make sure it's not cracked. Make sure it's certifiable. Make sure it's financeable. And sometimes I think the VA is starting to try to not let. This is just a question. Ask a lender. That if sewer's available and you got a septic tank, they're making you switch in some places. So just be cognizant of all this stuff. Read the fine print. And on everything in real estate, go and read it yourself. Don't just listen to somebody. Make sure you have a good real estate agent that knows what they're talking about. I happen to be a great real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast of Florida and Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, Orange Beach. Email down below if you would like for me to help you find a great place. Happen to know a lot about real estate. Happen to buy a lot of real estate. I like it. If you got a house that you're just trying to get rid of and you don't know what to do with it and it won't go on the MLS because there's something wrong with it, email me too. I'll be happy to take a look at it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Add something below if you've got something to partake in this conversation with. Something that I missed because I can only talk for so long on here. See you guys later.